There's no words that you can tell them.
Take two.
Let me know when.
You
Good? Good? I don't know how I look like when I cry.
You're about to find out.
My name is Grazian. My dad died from COVID.
Hi, my name is Christine, and my father passed away due to health complications that resulted from his alcoholism.
My name is Albea, and my dad passed away from lung cancer. I think one of the things that I acknowledge is that I haven't processed a lot about my dad's death. I'm not saying you don't want to show that weakness, but it's I don't want to burden people to have to ask oh, are you okay?
When it comes to grief, I talk to a lot of friends about it. It's really more so you never know when it's going to come up. So I'm just really scared for old feelings to show up again.
Because it's not just, life lessons and deep reflections and things you can share with other people. It's a lot of ugly dealing with the day-to-day part of that experience.
I lost my dad in September of 2020. And then your dad...
I lost my dad in March.
In March and
then May.
So it was
wow.
Within the time span of 1 year.
Yeah.
And it was something that we all experienced kind of with each other.
Yeah.
But also had to navigate comforting each other. While
So
also,
different.
Yeah.
While also navigating that there's still a business to run.
I think my dad lived a really fulfilling life. I think at moments he struggled to admit that. And a lot of that had to do with depression, that he went through. Coming from the Philippines and then moving to America and having to build from nothing. And every single action that he did, it was for myself, it was for me and my 3 sisters, it was for my older brother. I would describe my dad as living his entire life so that we had a better life. As he was nearing his death, he asked me, take care of the girls, take care of your sisters, take care of your mom, because that's everything he built. It was for us.
I don't think my dad lived a life that he would have considered fulfilling. My dad moved here when he was 17, and he had a lot of aspirations, and he was very, very intelligent. I have a binder of some of his old test scores from high school, and they were all at the top, say 100%. I remember my mom telling me about how his boss wouldn't promote him to higher pay because he didn't have a bachelor's degree, even though he was the only one, according to him, that would be the engineer on site that would know exactly what was going on. I know that at the end of the day, he just wanted all of us to be proud of him and to not be disappointed in his choices. And I don't think he got that impression from us. I would hear stories about him not having a lot of friends at work or being alienated. And there were a lot of judgments made that were really unfair. And I just think that my dad was resigned to invest his dream in my sister and I. My dad always prepared my sister and I for his... My dad always tried to prepare my sister and I for when he wasn't going to be here. He was always thinking ahead, and sometimes a little too far ahead. But I know that at the end of it all, he really just wanted us to get along because we were all that we were going to have left.
I 100% think that my dad lived a fulfilling life. Part of it is because he was very simple. I grew up in a low-income family, and we didn't have a lot. So I just know that my dad really prioritized family first. He found the joys in little things. The last months that I had with him, he faced death head on, and he had so much grace. He wasn't sad at all. He was accepting the fact that he could die anytime soon because he was so happy. He was just happy. He was looking out for us. If he did pass away at that time, he knew it would be his time, You don't really appreciate that till later in life. Once you're an adult, right? You start thinking the things that they've done are so courageous. They went to a different country, didn't know the language, had to adjust to the culture. Remember, back in the day, there was no Wi-Fi, there was
Right.
no iMessage, there was no
Right.
Facebook. So how are they able to communicate with their family back home?
They didn't have that.
No.
That's crazy.
So my dad growing up was really into cars. Whenever I go to get my tires checked or get a car wash, I always think about my dad because I remember those moments when I would go with my dad to these places where I freaking hated growing up. I hate going to like car washes. It's just those little things that I don't really have never imagined that I would be thinking about my dad at the car wash. You know what I mean? He basically told me two things. He told me to look after my mom and he told me to look after my health. And I don't think a lot of people realize why it's so important to me now. That it's because my dad told me to look after my health, and I took it to heart.
My dad was very much into sci-fi and fantasy, and he loved Star Wars, and he loved anything related to Area 51. So I've seen a lot of X-Files. It's the closest thing that I can describe to him having a dream, because I didn't ask him, but also when my dad would talk about all he wanted out of this life, he would talk about my sister and I. 1 second. It's hard to answer the question of what my dad's dream was here. From what I've seen or what I've experienced or heard from other people, when you're addicted to something, it's because you're trying to replace something else. And maybe a lot of what my dad was trying to fill in for himself seemed to be a realization that he was never going to get what he wanted out of moving here.
You don't tend to ask old people, what are your dreams? He couldn't foresee so far into the future because there wasn't much there for him, you know, where he was from in the Philippines. And he got lucky because he immigrated to America because of the Navy. I'm kind of realizing now that was like his dream or a core part of his identity was running. He was a marathoner, but he started running marathons beyond the age of 50. And that's amazing. Like, I don't know many people, like even me, like I'm so out of shape. I cannot run a mile. And I remember every year he would do the LA Marathon. The greatest marathon that he had done was the Great Wall of China. And so I really respect the tenacity that he had. Me and my auntie Tessa actually did his last marathon with him. It was the Disneyland half marathon. So we ran his last one together. Before I die, I do want to do at least one marathon in honor of my dad.
I can think of so many moments when I was like embarrassed of my dad.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Like feeling embarrassed that like, oh, his English isn't good.
Yeah.
I feel bad that he's like talking to those parents. I think they think he's weird. Feeling embarrassed when he like cared enough to like cook, bought one.
Yeah.
And I was like embarrassed at that food.
Yeah.
I think like growing up was like recognizing how fucking cool that was. And having to get over the guilt that I was at any point embarrassed of like my dad or everything that he had to go through.
There was something that happened in the room when we were doing the other interview where I realized that there was something that I needed to say that I hadn't been saying. Lately, since my dad passed, when things get hard or stressful or overwhelming, I hear his voice very clearly. He had like repeat phrases that he would say. It's okay, Anak. Like, and I can hear in his voice the reassurance. It's gonna be okay.
I think I'm gonna cry. When my dad passed away, we actually got to talk to him for like the last time. And I told him everything that I wanted to. And some of the things I told him was that I thanked him for sacrificing so much for us. So I would like to thank my dad for just accepting me for who I am. And just accepting like my dreams and accepting what I want to do with my life. And just, you know, being a great dad because, you know, being gay, like it's just so hard. You know, if I had a different parent who wasn't supportive of me, I wouldn't be where I am today.
I'm sorry that the last time that you and I had a coherent conversation where you could actually look at me and understand what was going on, that I was tearing you apart. And to be honest, I don't think I was talking to you for the last year of your life. I don't think it was you. I don't think that's not my dad. I know you needed me to be there more often than I was, but I couldn't. And I know that's never what you wanted anyway. It was for me to be there to wait on you hand and foot, so I didn't know what to do, and I did what you told me to do, which is to just leave you there because I needed to live my life. But you kept calling. I'm sorry. And I'm so grateful. Thank you for showing me it was okay to create things, and for having my back no matter how many times I changed my mind about what I was going to do with my life. Thank you for never questioning my sense of direction. Thank you for being willing to argue with me and not shut me down, but actually reason with me or hear my side of things. I miss you a lot, and it's not the same without you.
There are so many things that I wish I could tell my dad. And I think the hardest part is that he lived in Oxnard. I moved to LA. You know, he would call me every couple of days. I was always working. And he did this for at least 2 years. You know, 2 years of fighting lung cancer. But I was always at work, that I couldn't go to most of his, you know, chemotherapy or most of his trials. There was that one phone call. It was nearing the end of all of the options that we had. And he said, "Luigi, the medicine didn't work." And there's no words you can tell someone that's about to face death. There's no words that you can tell them. So I just lied and said it's gonna be okay. And I just know I've felt a lot of guilt in my life. After his passing, I really took serious the role that I had in taking care of my family, making sure that we stayed together, making sure that we continue to stay close and as a unit. So if I were to talk to him today, this was all for you, and this was all because of you. Every piece of success that I have, all my motivations and my drive have been because of you. So, thank you, Dad.
So getting to apologize for that, even though it was to a camera, is probably what I will take with me. But I think that's the beauty of all of this is in succession, we lost our fathers, but in succession, we've picked it up where we needed to, when we needed to. If one of us is down, then the other two pick it up, right? One down. We're not all down at the same time. From working with both of you, I've learned how to, yes, feel your emotions, let it out, but also meet people where they're at with how they engage with emotions. Because not everyone's just going to openly cry in public the way that I have just developed the habit of doing. I just do it now. It just happens. It's fine. But not everyone's comfortable with that much emotion, and it's okay, because there are reasons for that. Meeting folks where they're at and understanding that everyone's going to deal with it differently, and just knowing how to show up for them and ask them what they need, I think has been the most helpful thing throughout the whole process.
Having this conversation was really made me realize that we need to be more present than ever, because I think we're all hustling in our own different ways, right? But you know, it's important to really spend time with your family, and it's important to like really be present and not get too caught up with the future.
Life is short.
Yes.
Life is so short. So if you have a gut feeling, you follow it. Because let me tell you, oh my gosh, over the last 6 months, just listening to myself and like whatever, just like burning, you have to do this thing, do it. Just do it. Beautiful things will unfold. Hug me, brothers. Oh.
Our dads are literally in heaven like, look at those f***ers.
Right? I wonder if they're all just like, oh.
They're probably drinking.
Look
They're
at them,
honestly drinking beer.
crying.
Yeah.
Look at them cry. Look, oh. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you for watching Sala Talks Unfiltered.
These conversations are never easy, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't have them. Filipinos have a long history of rarely discussing mental health issues, but we want to change that. Got a story or conversation you want to tell, but never had the space to do so? Or maybe you know a close friend or family member who does, even including your nanay and tatay. Either way, send us an email at casting@one-down.com with subject line Sala Talks and tell us your story. All genders, ethnicities, and orientations are welcome to apply. We're always looking for people to be cast in other projects as well, so keep an eye out for other casting calls that we'll be posting soon. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to One Down for more content centered on Filipino culture, and thanks for watching.